Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Bosher, and today I want to show you how to make a growling, fuzzy, Gamenoise type synth with the Maelstrom in Reason. And the loop that you heard was something I made real quick, but I just wanted to kind of showcase what this type of sound does and how versatile it is when you start to mess with it. So let's get started. Let's make this thing from scratch. I do have a new project already opened, and for time's sake I did just copy and paste the notes over to the new project here, and it's literally just E3 and E2. It's just E, that's it. Sustained for 4 bars, and then it just goes again for another 4 bars. Nothing crazy. For this particular type of sound, of course, there are no right or wrong answers. Whatever works for you works best. But let's go into our new projects rack here and create a combinator. Right click, create a combinator. And in the combinator here, let's right click and create an instance of Maelstrom. Alright, perfect. Now that we have Maelstrom here, let's just right click and reset the device or initialize the patch. And what we're going to do first and foremost is we're just going to go right into the first oscillator, and we're going to change it from a sine wave. Just click on it, and here's the menu. Go to FX and click on Gamenoise. And it's a pretty cool noise in its own right. And but let's mess with it a little more before we hear what's going on. Let's set the octave to 3, so just down 1 from the default. And let's set the motion to -36. Remember, you can always hold shift, click and drag, and get that specific number. And the motion will just slow it down in the grain table here, and so it won't be as fast as far as what the actual sample in the synth is doing. Let's set the index to 78, aka where in the synth, where in the wave we're actually playing the synth here. So this controls where in the Gamenoise we can control what it sounds like. And then the shift, -18, so that just controls the formant characteristics. And I've already explained these things in other tutorials of mine, so go ahead and check those out. But yes, oscillator A shift to -18. And let's just take a listen real quick to what we have. And it's really cool how at the end there it gives you a whole new characteristic of what's going on with the Gamenoise, because it's moving, and you can always customize the motion, so you can make it go faster, slower, the shift, anything like that. But let's continue to get more of a thick sound here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click this button right here to route the oscillator A to the shaper, and then we're going to activate the shaper as well. We're going to change the shaper algorithm from the, actually no we're not, we're going to keep it on sine, and we're going to change the amount from 64 to 48. Yeah, keep it on sine. Alright, next the filter A, filter A will already be on by default if you initialize the patch. And we're going to change it from a low pass 12 to a band pass 12, so it's a low pass and high pass filter. We'll hone in on the specific frequency here. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the frequency here to 76, so just a little higher than the default. And we're going to change the peak, or the resonance, to about 42. Give it a nice peak. Give it some fullness, if you will. Next, we're going to go to the oscillator B, and we're going to change this to a Gamenoise once again. And we're going to make this an octave of 3. And we're going to change the motion to -35, so 1 above oscillator A. And then the index will be at 91. A little farther up than the oscillator A as well. The shift will be at 18 instead of -18. And let's just take a listen to what we have. But before we do that, let's just route oscillator B to filter B. It'll just be a low pass by default, but let's just hear what we have. So as you can hear, the oscillator B, when it's filtered here, gives it some nice warmth underneath, but we're going to make it a little more active. So we're going to change the low pass filter to a band pass filter once again. And we're going to change the frequency to 28 this time. So a little lower, a lot lower actually. The resonance will be at about 20. and the master level will be at about 93 for the whole thing. And this is completely up to preference. Just be careful with the level. It can get pretty loud. And let's just take one more listen before we move on to a couple of other effects we're going to add onto it. Beautiful. So, as is, it's ready to go. So if you wanted to use this, you can add any effects you want, and you can go from there. But to get more of a sound, what you heard in the tutorial before, we're just going to add a scream distortion unit on it. So right-click, add a scream 4. Going to change it to a tape algorithm, and we're going to change the damage to 34. So sufficient damage, but nothing too overwhelming. I'm going to change the tape speed all the way to 127, so it doesn't really compromise any sort of characteristics of the tone of the synth itself. And there's going to be no compression. It's just more or less for just a gentle saturation. I'm going to change the master level from 85 to 91. And again, completely up to you how you want to do this. Whatever works for you. And if you add the distortion, it's going to be a little louder, but it's going to be a lot grittier, a little more growly. And I'm playing those notes for 4 bars, but if you sustain them for longer, it will go through that full motion of the actual grain table with these settings, of course. And so what I'm going to do on top of this is just add an RV7000 reverb just to give it some nice fullness and like give it somewhere to sit in a room. So we're just going to click the remote programmer here, and of course on both of these just make sure to right click and reset the devices or initialize patch. And I'm just going to keep it at the Hall algorithm by default. The dry wet I'm going to crank down to about 32. Doesn't need to be too high, just enough to give it something on the end there. Give it a little more width. And then I'm going to change the diffusion here to about 74. That way we have a little more cleaner reflections, and it gives it a little more granular effect, and it makes it a little more textured. All these other settings are completely up to you, however you'd like to do that. But this is essentially the finished product of what we have. And so let's take a listen real quick. And just like that, you have a very, very cool growling, almost fuzzy-like Gamenoise synth that you can use for any sort of like cinematic effect, any build-up as a main lead like you heard in the loop real quick, even though that loop wasn't necessarily anything really good. But and of course you can use the mod A and mod B to modulate any sort of parameter and really give it some more motion, texture, whatever you want. So for example, let's change this to the modulator A curve number 2. Let's just modulate the pitch a little bit, maybe -12, just a little bit. And we'll turn on the sync, and we'll turn on the rate to maybe 2/4, so half a bar. Let's take a listen real quick. And that's just one of a myriad of things you can do with this particular sound, and it's really cool. But that is it. We are all finished up here. I will make this patch available, so we're gonna make it here. What it is, top ABB Gamenoise, ABB Growling Gamenoise tutorial. I will make that available for you guys to download. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any comments, concerns, please let me know. Leave a comment, and if you like the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you like it enough and you want to see more of these tutorials, I got plenty more, go ahead and subscribe. But yeah, other than that, we are all finished up. So I will have the download link for this patch in the description, and other than that, I just hope you all learn something and show me what you did with it. Of course, I always like listening to what you guys make. So I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.